Dr. Mike Horne, welcome to the conversation today.
I'm so glad to be here, Jonathan. I'm delighted to be in conversation with you.
It is a real pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from Palm Springs. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. Today, we're going to be talking about your recent book, The People Dividend. And I'm thrilled to have a chance to chat with you about this. I think it's a really interesting topic. And of course, as a human capital person myself, I think it's an incredibly important framing. And I'm just excited to be able to explore it with you. As we get started, I just wanted to share brief bio with everybody. Empowering leaders for over 3 decades. Dr. Mike Horne is a distinguished global corporate human resource and organizational development leader. As an executive coach, best-selling author, and sought-after speaker, Mike empowers innovation from within and guides executives and their teams to excellence. There's a whole lot I could share in terms of past positions and experiences and education, so many accolades. But I'm going to pause there, Mike. Anything you would like to highlight by way of your background or personal context before we dive on
I'll just say that I'm a really good listener.
in? That's a great skill to have.
Yes.
Especially in the world we're in. In our profession, I think in the people world, in the human capital world, we need more listeners. We need more understanders, more empathy. All of that is so important. Well, as we dive on in, first question is really something I ask all authors. Why this book? Why now? Books are labors of love. You've written other books. But clearly there's something driving you that, there's a passion around this topic. So what was it about the timing and this topic itself that drove you to write this book?
Well, there are at least two forces that were at play in the People Dividend leadership strategies for unlocking employee potential. And one was coming to terms with feeling like a cog in the wheel.
Okay.
Having worked for lots of big corporations, having consulted to lots of people in plenty of big corporations, this feeling of being anonymous, of enemy, and despite bringing your best, doing your best, having bosses that faked a lot of stuff during one-on-ones, it was that sense of anonymity in the workplace. Uh, does somebody really care about me? That was one impetus. And I think the second, was a tribute to my mentors who valued humanistic leadership, humanistic values. So this is again my chance to sort of blend personal experience with scholarship, with the information of experience into the people dividend. There are so many factors at work right now, Jonathan, that make the people dividend relevant. One, I was really concerned about gig economies, the rise of gig economies.
Hmm.
People
Hmm.
don't, it's not like the velvet coffin anymore where people stay at a place for 10 years, 15, 20, it doesn't happen, right? People
Yeah.
string together various jobs in the economy to make a living. So the advancing gig economy, what really is the shortening of the work week, at least in the United States, people may not see it, but it's one of the reasons why people are so overwhelmed because the work week is really shortening to about 4 days in the United States. There is the increasing use of AI and how that affects all of us, and thinking about it. So some of these forces, lead to a return to a new order, which is what's going to make the difference between good and great companies, between
Hmm.
best places to work companies, is the use of humanistic values as an approach to leadership. So, what does that mean? Let's just unbundle it to say it's dignity, it's kindness, and respect. So
It, it,
that's the way to win in the future.
yeah. So I love that. And anytime we can get back to basics, treating people with dignity and respect, being kind to one another. I mean, it's groundbreaking stuff, right? Like that's not rocket science, yet man, it sure seems to get lost in all the noise of everything that's going on around us and the division, political divide and polarization and it's just I don't know, increasingly it seems challenging to just treat people well, be kind, treat people with dignity and respect. Everyone wants that. And I truly believe that the vast majority of people want that for others, regardless of, political ideologies or whatever differences, people might have in terms of their worldviews and framings. I think the vast majority of people want to be treated that way and they want to treat others that way. And yet we have this huge gap in how people are experiencing the world, how they're experiencing relationships at home, in their communities, and at work. And so we have a long way to go, I think, to recapturing this idea of just fundamentals of dignity, respect, kindness. Let's get back to that.
My coaching clients are successful people, typically founders,
Hmm.
chief executives, or in the C-suite. I mean, they're leading
Hmm.
substantive portions of organizations. They're technically accomplished folks generally.
Hmm.
They didn't go to leadership school, though many of them had, successive leadership experiences in life that lead them to these, organizational penultimate positions.
Hmm. Hmm.
But my usually my early advice, because they want to do well in people and they're usually failing in some way, is I encourage them just to say hello to
Mm.
other people. I think it's one of our oldest technologies, and it's also a great act of inclusion. Is just to say hello. I mean, start a conversation there.
Yeah, just as you run into people saying hi, how are you doing? It's a very simple, fundamental thing. Smiling at people, like looking up, smiling at people. It's a very, very simple thing to do, but it's amazing how much that doesn't happen today.
Sure.
Because people are busy and they're running around from place to place. Maybe they're down looking down at their phone, whatever, right? There's so many reasons why it doesn't happen, and usually it's not because someone has malice towards you. That's not usually it at all. It just is people are distracted, they're busy, they're hurrying to their next priority or whatever. And so just the small act of being able to show, that consideration towards another person to look at them, to make eye contact, to smile, to say hello. Yeah. I mean, it's a tiny thing. It's a really tiny thing, but it goes a long way. And if you can make a habit of doing simple little things like that and to do them consistently, not only will they change others' impressions of you, but they'll change your outlook on others and your outlook on the world around you and how you engage with that world.
Surely, and it's a way of being authentic in the workplace. And maybe authentic isn't the right word, but it's a way of being congruent in the workplace, that
Yeah,
maybe you
yeah.
can, you enable your words and actions to match, and hopefully your thoughts as well, your cognitions, so that you can go about presenting yourself as present, because you don't know what happened to people 5 minutes before their meeting with you, or what's going to happen to them 5 minutes after. But to be present, to bring some discernment, to say hello. I mean, these are all factors that go a long way, regardless of how and where people are working. This
Yeah.
isn't just something for technologists in Silicon Valley, or people in biopharma in Boston. This is, for people on a shop floor, people working in Amazon, people working in any of the big warehouses. You can do this across any context, across
Hmm.
any frame of employment. Whether that's a typical 50-hour week for some people, whether it's shift work, however you want to think about it.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. It really is across any modality of work. It's across any industry, role type of work. It definitely applies. Well, let's unpack more around the dividend here and what you mean by that. Obviously there's these core fundamental components of really just what makes us human and how to treat people well. Um, Tell us more about what you mean by the people dividend and how we leverage that.
Well, the people dividend is the result of these actions. the result of behaviors in leaders to treat others with dignity, kindness, and respect. And it doesn't happen often enough. I mean, we have 70 years of social psychology
Yeah.
that tells us that, great technical leaders don't make great people leaders. And yet we have, a persistent pattern of ignoring that. If people get promoted based or they advance, they develop their careers, they start companies based on their technical expertise. So it is the job, thinking about how do you empower the system to produce the dividends, whether you call them great place to work dividends or some other kind of placement, so that you make money and or if it's not a for-profit enterprise that you're succeeding against other measures that you have.
Yeah,
It's
you're
too late to
always.
strategize when things are going south.
Yeah, exactly. When it's stopgap measures and you're trying to put fingers in the dam to stop up holes, right? That's it's just too late. And
We have so many bad leaders.
yeah, absolutely. Too many examples, to point to. And you're right. Like every it doesn't matter if you're a for-profit, a nonprofit. Every organization is bringing value in some way to stakeholders, to communities, right? Products, services, purpose, something, right? And so you're trying to do that. You're trying to do that well, and leaders um, catalyze their people to make that happen. In a wide variety of contexts, obviously, but ultimately, that's what it is to lead, is to bring together the folks that you have working with you to bring value to your communities, to your stakeholders. And that obviously
Right.
that takes different forms, right? And you have different metrics, but ultimately um, the fundamental purpose is the same, that you're trying to add value, and you can't do it without the value in your people and investing in those people. And so this people dividend, yeah, unless that's there, you're always going to fall short in the long run. You might be able to get short-term value and kind of squeeze the orange and get a little bit of short-term productivity out of your people, but you're not going to be able to do anything in long-term sustainable fashion to be able to do that. Certainly not in any way that's going to keep you competitive in the long run, right?
Yes, and I hope our listeners, everybody in the listening audience, understands that or can reflect on an experience where there are certain bosses that you have or had for whom you would like jump through hoops, that you would almost do
Right.
anything, and there are plenty of others that you wouldn't do that. So, what is it that distinguished those people for whom you would jump through hoops? And it's usually because at some level they demonstrated that they cared about you.
Yeah.
And they may have a lot of bad behaviors. Maybe they talk over you. Maybe they are too busy at times. Um, and when they do interact with you, when they care, and that's something different than our typical pattern that we have to disrupt, which is to see each other as elements of production.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, nobody expects your leaders to be perfect. I guess maybe some do, but nobody who's experienced, like that's a very naive, immature kind of
Agreed.
a way to think about it. And so anyone who's been around for a second doesn't actually expect any level of perfection from their leaders, but what they do expect is intentionality, caring, clarity, and like um to own up to stuff, right? So like when you do misstep, like you don't throw your people under the bus to cover it up. You don't gaslight your people, but you actually just say, "Oh, that didn't work," or "Yeah, I messed that up," or what we're turn to your people and say, "Hey, how are we going to approach this? I don't know what to do here." Like people don't need a facade of. It's the weirdest thing to me, because there's also, like you said, 70 years of social psychology. research. There's years of behavioral economics and social psychology and sociology and like all the different social sciences and management sciences that demonstrate over and over and over again that we do not need the puff out your chest, pound your chest kind of leader who just like pretends like everything is fine when it's not. Like we need people who will bring people together and work through problems, right? And I just don't expect perfection. I don't expect my leader to have all the answers. In fact, I know they don't have all the answers. And when they pretend like they do, I just don't trust them because I know they don't, right?
Yes, I often do an exercise with my clients there where I say, let's list all the qualities in an effective leader. And to your point, the list doesn't end, right? You can easily create 50 qualities, 50, traits, whatever you want to think, easily. You can get up to 100. Absolutely impossible for anyone to live up to, all of these accolades. So it is, you know, getting clear about what it is that you bring to the situation so that you can deliver on that over and over and over again, and also use that as a platform for anxiety and fear, and so that you can learn more.
Yeah. And so that big long list, dozens of things, I mean, literally 50 things, 100 things, all the things that people have in their head of what they want to see in a leader, right? When you really boil it down, where do you get? You tend to get to, I want to know that my leader cares about me. I want to know that they see me, that they understand me. I want to know that they're going to support me, invest in me, right? I want to know that they're going to treat me fairly, like it's pretty basic things. There's a whole bunch of other things that they stack on top of that, but it really comes down to, fairly fundamental components that tie directly back to those three fundamentals that you shared at the very beginning. Treat people
Mhm.
kindly. Let's treat people with dignity and respect. And it's a low bar, but like if you can do that consistently, you're going to be in the top echelons of leaders because the number of like toxic leaders that are out there that are just horrible and just run railroad and run over their people, treat them horribly, and get to where they're at by stepping over their people. It's just tremendous. And
Right.
it's not always intentional. Like sometimes it is, but sometimes it is intentional. But a lot of times it's just they don't know any different, and it's just kind of how they see that's what it means to climb the ladder, and that's what it means to it's not personal, it's just business, and like whatever cliche thing you want to say.
And I think it's so important as we think about this, that we consider getting clarity on those objectives about how you want to be seen in the world and how you want to lead. So important.
Yeah, yeah. So if someone's to pick up your book, they're going to get this message, I think, over and over again to make sure it's going to come through crystal clear. What can they take away? Like, what are they going to do about it? So anyone listening today or watching, what are maybe two or three actionable things that they should take with them and start doing themselves, start to implement within their team, within their organization today to start to enhance, to increase that people dividend.
That's great. And I think for, probably many of the folks in the audience for this podcast, people who are in human resources, the People Dividend leadership strategies for unlocking employee potential is very popular among human resources leaders. And, we have to think about what are the implications for creating these People Dividend cultures for human capital leaders, for human resources leaders, for people and culture leaders. And by default, the executives who are responsible for those. The world of HR has changed dramatically. It's changing dramatically.
Hmm.
Last year, I gave multiple presentations on AI and human resources.
Yeah.
I know in my own graduate program, where I lead the graduate program in human resources management at Golden Gate University, the leadership program. at our core, we're thinking about there isn't an area of human resources that is really untouched by AI, whether it's in total rewards, whether it's in performance management, in talent acquisition. Uh, so, what's next? What's on the horizon for human capital? And I think what HR leaders will find, what human capital leaders will find in the people dividend are strategies and approaches for building the people dividend culture. And what I say is, here are particular strategies around dignity, respect. Let's define it. What does it mean? Practicing kindness. How do you begin to build that into the culture of the organization and into the fabric of leadership? So the book is complete with practical strategies, applications, and lots of resources to support the journey towards creating the people dividend culture.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, this has just been a really great conversation, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I note the time. I'm going to have to let you go here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
As we start to wrap things up, um, share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about the work that you do. You coach, you speak, you write. Um, how can they tap into that? Where can they find your book? And then give us the final word for today.
The easiest way to connect with me is at Mike-Horne, HORNE.com. And you'll find all the resources, links to books, links to my weekly podcast, links to my weekly blog. You'll find lots of ways to connect with me at Mike-Horne, HORNE.com. And also on LinkedIn, where I have, I think, 35,000 or more followers who are reading my weekly newsletter on the People Dividend on LinkedIn. So, but visit me at Mike-Horne.com. I prefer that. And if I were to, as I think about the last thought, it's what I work with a lot of clients on. And I think what we try to do with the People Dividend is we know that bad systems trump good people. So we really are working at building systems to create equity, to inclusion, where all of that is shown through a light of dignity, kindness, and respect. And that's the people dividend.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That in all of this, I want to give grace to folks and recognize again that people aren't perfect, but most people wake up in the morning trying to do the best they know how, and so often the issues that we face, the challenges and the imperfections that we notice are, also systemic. And it's not any one leader, but there are problematic systems that can be addressed. And so be soft on people, be hard on systems. We can make our organizations, our teams, the world a better place. Um, let's make it a kinder place. Dignity and respect, like you said, all of that, so important. Mike, it's been a real pleasure. I encourage the audience to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Mike can do for you. Check out the book, and as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day, and I hope you all have a great week.